I knew I was screwed the second my mom pulled out the family binder, the one with baby photos, holiday cards, and, apparently, a short list of potential brides she and her church friends had carefully arranged for me. By the time she cheerfully announced, "Ethan, you have a blind date this Saturday," I nearly spit out my coffee. That's how I ended up knocking on Noah's door 2 hours later, blurting out like a desperate idiot, "Hey, I need you to pretend to be my boyfriend." Noah froze in the doorway, his eyebrows climbing so high they almost touched his messy blonde hair. For a solid 5 seconds, he just stared at me, green eyes sparkling with something between disbelief and amusement. Then, like always, he smirked that infuriatingly calm, knowing smirk. Wow. So the great Ethan Rivers finally admits he needs me. I hated how my stomach twisted at the way he said it. We'd been neighbors our whole lives. But friends was a complicated word. He was the boy who borrowed sugar from my mom's kitchen and teased me for my terrible basketball skills. The boy I fought with over whose turn it was to mow the lawn. The boy who, somehow, was always there when I needed him even when I swore I didn't. And now, he was the only boy who could save me from an arranged dinner that promised nothing but humiliation. "You don't have to make it sound like I'm begging," I muttered, even though that's exactly what I was doing. "Just one evening. My mom will drop it if she thinks I'm already seeing someone." Noah crossed his arms, leaning against the doorframe with the kind of confidence I envied and resented all at once. "So, let me get this straight. You want me to play your boyfriend in front of your family? Hold your hand. Maybe smile at you lovingly. Maybe even call you babe." My face burned. "Don't push it." But he was enjoying this far too much. His grin widened, and he stepped aside, gesturing dramatically for me to come in. "All right, Romeo, let's hear the plan." By the time Saturday night arrived, my nerves were shot. My mom had decorated the dining room like it was Christmas, the scent of roasted chicken filling the air. My dad sat in his usual spot, already skeptical, while my sister leaned against the wall, phone in hand, clearly waiting for the spectacle. And then Noah walked in. It was ridiculous. Really. He wasn't wearing anything fancy, just dark jeans and a fitted shirt that somehow looked better on him than it should have, but suddenly, the whole room shifted. His smile was effortless, disarming, the kind of smile that charmed teachers and cashiers and, unfortunately, my mom, who clasped her hands together as if God himself had answered her prayers. "Mrs. Rivers," he said smoothly, pulling out the chair beside mine. "Thank you for having me. Ethan's told me so much about your cooking." I nearly choked. I had never once said that. My mom beamed like she'd just won the lottery. My dad raised an eyebrow. My sister, she smirked knowingly, eyes darting between us like she was watching a live episode of her favorite drama. And Noah damn him slid his hand onto mine under the table like it was the most natural thing in the world. My heart stopped. Should have felt fake. Should have felt like a performance. But the warmth of his palm against mine, the steady way his fingers curled, sent a jolt of something dangerously real down my spine. "Ethan's been hiding you from us," my mom teased, her voice light but probing. "How long have you two been together?" I opened my mouth, but nothing came out. Noah, of course, swooped in like the savior he always pretended not to be. "Almost 6 months," he said smoothly, giving my hand a squeeze. "Though, if you count all the years we've known each other, maybe longer. Sometimes it feels like forever." Laughter rippled around the table. My mom looked misty-eyed. My dad skeptical but silent. My sister bit back a grin. And me, I stared at Noah, trying not to let my face betray the storm in my chest. Because for the first time, I realized something terrifying. He wasn't lying. Not really. Because even if I'd buried it under sarcasm, arguments, and years of denial, I had known Noah forever. I knew the way his smile tilted when he was genuinely happy. Not just teasing. I knew the way he cracked his knuckles when he was nervous. I knew how he always carried an extra hoodie in winter, just in case I forgot mine. And maybe I'd been pretending about more than just tonight. Noah glanced at me then, his green eyes soft, searching. The smile he gave wasn't for my family. It was for me. And God help me. I wanted it to be real. But pretending has consequences. Because after dinner, when the dishes were cleared and my mom was already planning Thanksgiving with her favorite new couple, I found myself standing on Noah's porch again, the cool night air biting at my skin. "You were really good in there," I muttered, stuffing my hands in my pockets. He tilted his head, watching me closely. "You mean convincing?" I nodded, but my throat was tight. Noah stepped closer, the porch light casting shadows across his face. "Funny thing is, Ethan, I didn't feel like I was pretending." The world tilted. My chest squeezed so hard it hurt. Before I could answer, he leaned in just enough that I could feel his breath. His words low and steady. "So tell me, when I held your hand tonight, did it feel fake to you?" For a moment, couldn't breathe. His words hung in the night like smoke, impossible to wave away. Did it feel fake? God, no. It felt like the most dangerous kind of truth, the kind I had been running from for years. But fear has claws. And mine dug deep. "I don't know what you're talking about," I said too quickly, stepping back. Pretending the porch railing suddenly fascinated me. "It was just an act. Thanks for helping me out. Really. I owe you one." I didn't look at him when I said it. Couldn't. Noah didn't push. He just let out a quiet laugh, low and bitter, and said, "Right? Just an act." Then he opened the door and disappeared inside, leaving me alone with the sound of my own racing heartbeat. The following week was hell. We crossed paths in the driveway, at the grocery store, even at the diner we both pretended not to frequent too often. And every time, his smile was gone, replaced with a polite nod or worse, nothing at all. It shouldn't have mattered. That's what I told myself. But it did. More than I wanted to admit. By Thursday, I cracked. I found myself pacing outside his door again, fist raised, stomach knotted. When he finally opened it, he looked at me with tired eyes, as if he'd been expecting me and regretted it all the same. "What do you want, Ethan?" His voice was flat, guarded. I swallowed. I don't want this to ruin things between us." "Ruin what?" His laugh was sharp this time. "Neighbors who occasionally tolerate each other. Friends who pretend they don't notice how close they stand in the dark." I flinched. He stepped closer, his voice dropping. "Or are we talking about the version of us where I hold your hand at dinner and you look at me like I'm the only person in the world? Because if that's the one, Ethan, you're lying to yourself more than you're lying to your parents." Every wall I had built cracked in that moment. Years of pretending, of pushing feelings into corners, of telling myself it wasn't possible. All of it buckled under the weight of his truth. I was scared. I admitted, my voice breaking. "I am scared." Noah's expression softened, though pain lingered in his eyes. "Of what?" "Of this," I whispered, and before I could stop myself, I leaned forward and kissed him. It wasn't smooth or careful. It was desperate, clumsy, the kind of kiss you give when you've been holding it back for too long. But Noah didn't pull away. His hands gripped my shirt, pulling me closer. And suddenly the world was quiet except for the sound of us finally colliding. When we broke apart, both breathless, he pressed his forehead to mine. That didn't feel fake either. I laughed shakily, tears burning at the edges of my eyes. No, it didn't. Of course, reality didn't vanish with one kiss. If anything, it became more complicated. My mom called the next morning, thrilled, asking when Noah and I would come over again. My dad gave me his usual long stare across the breakfast table, like he knew I was hiding something. And my sister, she just winked at me and whispered, "Took you long enough." For weeks, Noah and I danced between secrecy and honesty, between stolen moments and everyday life. Sometimes we argued. Sometimes I panicked. Sometimes he rolled his eyes and told me to stop overthinking. But then he'd lace his fingers through mine, and everything felt possible again. It wasn't perfect, but it was real. And slowly, I realized real was better than perfect. The night it all came out wasn't planned. My mom had invited Noah for Sunday dinner again. And halfway through the meal, as she asked him about his dream career, and my dad grilled him about baseball, I caught Noah's hand under the table. Not out of necessity this time. Not out of pretense. Just because I wanted to. My mom noticed first. Her eyes flickered down, then back up, surprise flashing across her face. My dad followed, his jaw tightening. The room grew tense. Could have let go. Could have laughed it off. Made some excuse. But I didn't. For the first time, I didn't want to. "Mom. Dad," I said quietly, steadying my voice. "This isn't fake. Noah and we're together. And I don't care if that wasn't what you planned for me." The silence stretched, heavy and suffocating. My heart pounded so hard I thought it might break my ribs. Finally, my dad exhaled slowly, setting down his fork. "Ethan, you've always been stubborn. I guess it shouldn't surprise me that when you decide something, you mean it." His eyes shifted to Noah, still guarded but not cruel. "Just treat him right." My mom blinked rapidly, tears forming. She reached across the table, squeezing my hand. "All I want is for you to be happy. Both of you." And just like that, the world tilted back into place. Later that night, Noah and I sat on his porch again. The same spot where everything had nearly fallen apart. This time, though, the air was lighter. He leaned against me, his head resting on my shoulder, and I laced our fingers together without hesitation. "You realize you just blew up your mom's binder of future brides, right?" he teased, voice soft with amusement. I chuckled. "Good. That thing was a nightmare." Silence stretched, comfortable now, the kind that didn't need words. Finally, I turned to look at him, really look at him, and said, "I'm done pretending, Noah, about all of it." His smile was gentle, but his eyes shone with something fierce and unshakable. "Good. Because I don't want to be your act. I want to be your choice." "You already are," I whispered, and when he kissed me again, slow and certain under the glow of the porch light, I knew I'd never go back to hiding. Because sometimes, the greatest love stories don't come from perfect plans or family binders. They come from accidents, from desperation, from two boys who finally stopped pretending long enough to let their hearts lose control. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe to stay updated with the latest videos.